it really doesn't matter so much what happens around you. What matters most is what you control, and that's what you do. So I would say definitely, the thing that has sustained me, of course, too, is my faith. I am such a person of faith. And I thank God that very early on, you know, I've never had the spirit of fear. Even when I was in situations that now I look back and I think through it, and I'm a different person. I'm getting older now. And there's some things that I did then that I may not have done now. But honestly, I think when you move in faith, ultimately, whatever it is, and sometimes we don't understand, but life is a journey. And everything that I've ever done, honestly, has prepared me now for this moment.
Wow, that's great. What are some of the tips that you give to younger women who are growing up and will be, and are the current generation and the next generation to be female leaders? What are your tips and words to them?
First and foremost, I would say that we, as elders and women who have had experiences, we have an obligation to teach and to nurture, because many of the trends that I see with some of our young girls are quite disturbing. And I think oftentimes we shift more attention on the boys. But several years ago, I started a Lock-In for Life, and it was a result of seeing the rise in truancy and justice, dispositions with young men. And by the next year, we were seeing young girls with higher numbers than the young men.
Wow.
And I would say that, many of us in our lives, I think the 100 black men get it right when they say, you will be what you see. And in many instances, we don't have our young girls seeing women who are of substance and who teaches them. So one thing that I've learned is not to be critical. I remember, in my life, I've always had to often encourage myself. And I often, I devote poems to memory, and, there's a little synopsis that says, I once complained I had no shoes until I saw a man who had no feet. And, also, too, when it comes to judgment, we have to stop being judgmental, because oftentimes people are in need.
That's right.
So for us, I think it's most important that we be a living example. It's easy to tell people what to do, but people should see whatever that light is in you. So if you live it, that's most important, and young girls will begin to see it. There's a lot of initiatives. We talked about Sheriff Maddox earlier, and she has a wonderful summer camp that I've always supported. And that's a key word too, support.
That's right.
We have to support each other. For me, I'm very thankful. The folk that I have around me right now, they started with me.
Wow.
You don't go and get brand new.
That's right.
Yeah. And that truly has made a huge difference too.
Yeah, it certainly will. How do you navigate in industries where there's a lot of male dominance? What do you say to women who are having to navigate, through those areas, even in the workplace, in business?
Let me say, and I've been asked that question a lot. And there is no denying, because, I'm based in empirical data. Because my grandfather often used to say to me, people lie, numbers don't. So if you look at the numbers, women are underrepresented in so many ways. However, I cannot sit here and truly say that I've experienced any form of discrimination because I was a woman. I will acknowledge that I've dealt with more adversity from my people.
I hear you. Yeah.
Than I have those who you may think would be a traditional opposition. Because unfortunately, you know, I want to be very clear when I say this. You know, slavery in certain institutions have done severe harm to black folk.
That's right.
And honestly, we haven't come out of it. We've not come out. People that I would have thought would have extended an olive branch didn't show their hand. But I figure we do what we know. So being a woman, honestly, in many instances, and this is another true moment, has helped me. It is easier, honestly, if we would become very honest in America, it is easier for a black woman than a black man. So when we show up, we work hard and we separate ourselves, honestly, opportunities will come. But, you know, I've always encouraged people because, you know, I've always been an entrepreneur and I do other things, you know, and even now on the federal level, I just got back from Washington last week. We can't depend on anyone except ourselves. And my biggest fear for us as humankind and as a people is that somewhere we got off track. Now, again, when you said I'm from Alabama, I'm from LA, I'm from Lower Alabama. Okay? And my grandfather used to say all my life I would hear him talk and I would sit there and just listen because as a child you didn't have a choice. And he would talk about Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1963 and 1964, and the biggest injustice that happened to the African American was the belief in a system that was never created with their best interest at heart. So he said, you know, when he was coming along, you know, that all of them had a business and they understood the importance of self-sufficiency. Because when Title VII passed, of course, people said, okay, now it is a mandate that people are equal and fair with me. But as he said, you never get the memo, and the memo was there was a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
You would only go as far as you were allowed to go. But so many people in hope, because we are a hopeful people.
That's right.
And you know, I sit here and today, this is International Women's Day, and we're celebrating black women, and I want to be clear, I celebrate all women, you know, because it's time for us to come together.
Yeah.
Often, you know, we say it doesn't matter what ship you came in, we all in the same boat now.
Right.
So, you know, I just want to be clear that I do not feel honestly that being a black woman has hurt me, because I want to be clear, I just came out of a race against 2 black men. And we won.
Yeah. So, what do we learn out of opposition? Because you mentioned that, you know, we've been here before, and how our ancestors and forefathers have taught us how to make it during tough times, during times of turbulence, during times of uncertainty. What are your words to residents about how to thrive and survive in the climate that we're in now?
I would say that being consistent. You know, there's this poem that my husband recited at my oath of office.